Caden Bean and Michael Morley have thrown down the gauntlet early. Both kicked things off this season with a victory at Daytona in their respective classes. Sebring will be an entirely different beast, though. The bumps and punishing walls are likely to claim more victims than last time as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Racing Edge Esports Championship. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman and Peter Mackay. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sebring International Raceway has become one of the crown jewels in North American road racing. To get a sense for why it's so highly regarded, let's head down to our track guide.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Morad, professional race car driver, and this is your Racing Edge track guide at Sebring International Raceway in the Porsche 911 RSR. Sebring is actually one of the oldest running circuits in North America, with its first event in 1950, and this is some of the original surface that we're driving on as we cross the stripe. Now heading towards turn 1, you want to use all the road on the right side of the track, light brake pressure, down to 4th gear, look for that cone on the wall as your apex reference, and then get to power right at that cone. Turn 3, brake at the first set of cones, down to 2nd gear, look for the point in the curve at turn 3 as your apex reference. Keep the car to the right through turn 4 to open up your entry to turn 5, and get early on the power using all the curb on the exit. Important corner as we head now towards an awesome overtaking opportunity in turn 7, which is the hotel corner. Change of surface in the brake zone, so you want to be braking at that first set of cones down to 1st gear. Try to trail the brake in all the way to the apex, but be careful with that change of surface because you can lock the front tires. We head now towards turn 10, another awesome opportunity for overtaking. Braking just in between the 1st and 2nd set of cones down to 2nd gear. You want to release the car about mid-track as you transition from right to left through turns 11 and 12. Up through the gears, 4th gear. Medium brake pressure for turn 13. Try to use all the road on the exit and the entry, for that matter. Now, Bishop Bend, very, very fast corner. 5th gear, 230 kilometers an hour. Brake at the first set of cones. You want to be off the brake pressure to balance the car through turn 14. All the curb needs to be used there, and that little bit of entry. As we head to turn 16, one of the most important corners on the track, which leads onto the longest straight. So heading up to Sunset Bend, turn 17, you want to turn the car in, then hit the brake pedal, down to 3rd gear, under the bridge, very, very bumpy, and hard on the power, open up your hands, and make that run to the line to complete your lap at Sebring International Raceway. If you guys like that video, make sure you like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification button to be notified the next time we post a track guide video. Hopefully you guys loved it, and we'll see you next time.
Daniel Morad, what it's like in the car around here, in the dark especially. But Sam, why don't you shed a little bit of light on some of the stats of this place?
Yeah, well, here you see the track map of Sebring International Raceway. Quite a lengthy circuit, as over 3.5 miles long, almost 6 kilometers, 17 turns. We're using the full configuration, the international version. This is the same track that they do the 12 hours of Sebring at. You mentioned the lap guide we just watched was at night. Well, our viewers can see it's still daytime right now, but we are going to be going in tonight, so that is something the drivers will have to take into account, even though it's a short race around here. These 40-minute races that we're having this season, that means we're not going to have a whole lot of laps. So I think these drivers will have to come into this race with a bit of a sprint race mentality. And to be honest, I think they'll all enjoy the fact that it's a bit of a shorter race, because Sebring's bumps can get to you in the long run.
Yeah, it certainly can be rough. Even in the sim world, that can leave you pretty exhausted. Now, they're certainly not exhausted from the championship. And Peter, we'll start out with you. I believe you've got the update on those GTE class points after our first round being over.
Yep, it was Caden Bean who, put together a flawless performance to hold off and really furious Nico Verone, who both of those drivers gave us an absolutely exceptional piece of entertainment last week at Daytona. So it's been that leads the championship so far from Verone, with Giuliano Romagnuolo in third, who had a very solid race as well. In fourth is Wilhelm Piepers, and fifth is our series organizer, Daniel Morad, who you saw on the onboard clip there. Now, remember, these standings are very important because the GTE champion will be in line for $1,000.
Absolutely. And don't forget the top 3 finishers each race get some cash. Now, we can get a look at some of the top finishers for the GT4 class as well, as Sam's got the update on them.
Yeah, and of course, the points that you see here are identical to the previous page. 25 points for the win, 18 points for second, 15 points for third, pretty much Formula One style scoring. And it was Michael Morley who ended up taking the 25 points at Daytona. He started on pole, he didn't get a good start, but he worked his way back up to the front, and Thomas Cope came home in second place. Phil Schrader also salvaging the podium there. And I say salvaging the podium because it was a little bit of a chaotic race for the GT4 drivers at Daytona. We had a couple of top contenders get involved in incidents, and one top contender even run out of fuel on the final lap, which shouldn't be a problem today at Sebring.
Yeah, hopefully drivers have put enough in there as we take a look at the race details, exactly what we've got in store for our viewers. And we are in round 2 out of the 8-race season with a 9th race involved in here as well. That's a championship race that they're going to be running. There's the 2 classes, the GTE Porsche, that's the RSR, and then the GT4 Cayman Porsche that they run. A 40-minute race, as we mentioned, and there are prizes for the podium finishers. Now, I talked about them putting enough fuel in. It is a fixed setup, so they don't have to actually worry about that, as everyone will start on the same fuel with the same setup on the car out there today. While we got a chance before qualifying starts getting some times on the board, let's talk to you about our promoter. Want to put your racing skills to the test on the track? Visit racingedge.com and check out the latest listings for the race cars and classic cars. From super quick McLarens to vintage Ferraris, racingedge.com will cater for your needs. Want to learn more about how to get into motor racing? Visit racingedge.com/media for more. You can see how you can contact them as well on social media on your screen. Now, it is such a long lap that even though they've only got 2 laps and 10 minutes to try and qualify here, Peter, we're still waiting for the first driver to come through and get a time on the board.
We are indeed. And while we're on the subject of qualifying, of course, 2 flying laps. You've got 1 out lap and 2 flying laps here. So not much time to get up to speed. Now, luckily, I managed to get my hands on the setup that our 911 RSR GTE runners will be using for this race. And I have to say, it is fantastic. So well done to whoever put it together. However, it has a couple of characteristics. It certainly makes this 911 RSR a lot more stable and a lot less twitchy. However, what I noticed is that there's a little bit more understeer. So there's that to worry about. But what I found fascinating, and it might be something more to do with the Sebring track surface, is that the tyre pressures take quite a long time to get up to their optimum, probably about 1.5 laps to even 2 laps. So all of your out lap and your first lap. So really, the car is only going to be on its optimum in that final lap. So it's kind of a one and done sort of idea here in the qualifying for our GTE runners, at least.
You can see we're getting a few drivers with times now, as we've got both the GTEs and the GT4s with the temporary pole sitter being actually up on top once again, but we still have a few more to go before we can say after the first lap who was the quickest the first time around. Morley goes faster than Ogren there in the number 17, so seeing pretty much a repeat of last round here at the start. Wonder if the race will go similar. We're watching Rayner now come across the line, and doesn't look like he put a time down on that first one.
And that lap time that Michael Morley has turned in the GT4 would have been quick enough to have been fastest in practice. These drivers have just came out of a 1-hour practice session. Now, the fastest driver in practice in GT4 was Andrew Warren. Well, it was interesting, Joe. I was watching Andrew, waiting for him to roll off of pit road for his qualifying lap. He waited until about 3 minutes into the session until he rolled off. That means one or two things. Either he was enjoying a bathroom break, or two, and the more likely option, because the sun is setting, I'm guessing Andrew's leaving his lap times until the dying moments to get the track as cool as it possibly can be. And it will be interesting seeing what he does as we continue to see the lap times fall in the GT4 and also the top class here on screen.
Yeah, Simonic just took the pole away from Bean, who is 3/100ths off of him. I'm looking to see where our GT4 drivers are, and Morley's still got a ways to go. He's going through Bishop, so we've got Pipers on screen now. So he has yet to set a time. His first lap of 57.7. That's going to be good enough for 7th place, so 4th row for the number 19 car.
And here comes Warren across the line, fastest driver in practice in GT4 and fastest driver in qualifying in GT4 to the top.
And that's just his first lap. So Morley is coming around for his second lap right now as Colin McKevitt comes across, and that's good enough for 5th in the Caymans. This is Rich Price. Morley's coming around Sunset Bend right now. Let's get the cameras on that number 6 and see what he can do. Oh, it's not going to be enough. He's going slow. He's abandoned his second lap, so he's settling for 2nd place. Interesting developments at the top of the field in the GT4 class. This is JJ Ross now. His first lap had an off somewhere, so it didn't count, and he's got just enough time to come around for this second one. 3rd place finisher from last round, Roman Yolo, down in 8th with his lone time being a 57.4. That's going to be a bit of a difficult day for him to repeat the same feat. I think we've got pretty much everybody except for one in the GT4 class who have put a time in. I see Reggie Robertson yet to set his time, and he's only going to get time for 1 lap around here, it appears. As we watch Broomhead as well. Robertson and JJ Ross are the last two to set at least a single lap time as we watch Cantu. He's already taken his 2 laps, so he's not going to, this won't make a difference as he crosses the line. He's got himself in 6th right now.
Yeah, that was a nice lap we saw by Broomhead just a couple of moments ago. He was down in the middle of the field, and his lap time of a 2 minutes 13.1 jumped him up to 4th place. So kudos to him.
Robertson did not set a time. He is going to be forced to start from the back of his class. Pipers went quicker and went up to 10th. Up next, it's going to be Andrew Waring. His second lap around. Can he extend that 1/10 of a second gap over Morley? Morley is, remember, he gave up on fine session. Ross is finally going to get one on the board. That'll put him in 16th, second to last of the drivers who have gotten a time in the Caymans.
I've got to give a shout out to Thomas Cope, currently sitting in 5th position, who had a good finish at Daytona, getting on the podium. It's his 21st birthday on Thursday, and he has a very special paint scheme to celebrate his birthday. And I think that's the first time I've ever seen someone with their very own birthday paint scheme. And to be honest, that's got a card any day of the week.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, he's run out of time, though, because our qualifying is now over. So let's go through our starting grid for today with the GTE class up at the top. Alex Simonic on the pole over Caden Bean, who starts in 2nd. Alexander Davidson will be P3 with Alex Ellis in the 4th position. Then it's Nicholas Ferrone starting P5. Carlos Cantu managed 6th with his qualifying. You've got Alex Herrera starting P7. And then the organizer of the event, Daniel Morad, was good enough for the outside of row 4 there in 8th. Giuliano Romagnolo, disappointing. His first lap didn't count. Must have played it safe on the second one, as that was only good enough for 9th. Then Gilhelm Pipers rounds out our top 10 here, Peter.
In 11th will be Mark Alguero, one of our newcomers to the series this week. In 12th will be Tay Kim. 13th will be Nick Del Campo in the 05 car. And 14th will be Stefan Jeffrey in the 249. On row 8 will be Ted Bradbury and Jose Manuel Balbiani. And 17th, rounding out the GTE runners, is James JJ Ross.
Andrew Warren takes a pole over in the GT4 class ahead of Michael Morley. In second position, Sam Fellows will start from third place. Alongside him is Michael Brimhead. Thomas Cope is in fifth in class ahead of Michael Ogren. And then we get to Wayne Rayner, who was in hospital last week, so it's good to see him back. He's qualified ahead of Colin McAvitt, Dylan Stone, Christopher Bailey and Stephen Sheriff. One more page of names to get through. Quite a large field here at Sebring. And those include Price, Zinn, Mills, Beans, Boschel, Fernandez, and then a few drivers at the bottom of the charts there, Joe, who did not turn a qualifying lap.
Yeah, it seems we missed Robertson, Nye, Steinhausen, and Ginger to be able to put a lap in as we now get ready to take off behind the pace car. At least our leader is. Simonic is ready to go, but the pace car is not taking off yet. There we go. As Racing Edge round 2 is going to be on its way now. So what are we going to see here? It's a very different race, a very different track compared to what we saw at Daytona, with a little bit less slipstream. Simonic, who's going to be given control after Sunset Bend. Porsche pace car is in. Green flag is out. It's a bit of a late start there for Simonic, and look at the stack up behind him as they go 4 wide. It is going to be a little bit crazy coming into the first corner. Hopefully they can get this settled out. Already we got a car tipped. That is Alex Ellis. More cars running into one another as they try to dodge the chaos, as it looks like it's not going to be a clean one here, but Bean is going to lead them. Let's go down to the GT4 start.
Yeah, the GT4 start has been much cleaner. Andrew Warren has got the jump and the leaders are single file. Maybe, well, they were single file, but Andrew Warren was quite early on the brakes there and they all accordion up behind him, but no contact. Oh, well, I say that there's a crash at the back there, a couple of cars spinning, so some drama at the back end of the field, but the leaders are way cleanly.
Back up to the lead. We got a challenge between Simonic and Bean, and Caden still trying his hardest to take this away from Alex. As they come up to Cunningham, one of the places you can sometimes see a pass, they almost come together, weaving through the kinks. And they break for this 90-degree right-hander with Simonic still leading Bean, with Cantu not too far behind. The top 3 have broken away.
It's great news for Caden Bean because Nico Verone was involved in that melee coming into turn 1. I have to say that it was really wild there coming into turn 1 with drivers weaving about all over the place, and it just caused the most incredible domino effect. But for Caden Bean, remember, he won the iRacing in this year, the iRacing Sebring 12 hours, so he loved this place. And already, if Simonic makes a mistake, that lets Caden Bean free. That could be key for the result of this race. And our race 1 winner from Daytona, he's out front.
How quickly can Cantu capitalize on this as well? He's not too far behind Alex after that error. Nobody close enough, it seems, to pull a slipstream down the backstretch, the Ullman Straight. So back onto the front stretch. Behind them, a little bit of side-by-side battle between Alguero and Bradbury. This is for P4 and the GTEs. I think Alguero is going to come out on top of those two. Indeed, he is. As that's happening.
Go ahead. Sorry, Joe. We've got a couple of drivers sitting in pit lane right now. That's Alex Ellis, the number 24 car, and Stefan Jeffrey, the 249. So obviously they had to take a tow back from that.
That was Romagnolo. Sorry, that was Romagnolo that just went off, loses multiple positions, sent it in deep into turn 3. But I don't think those tires that you talked about, Peter, are up to temperature quite yet, because he went way too hot into the corner.
Yes, they'll have to be super careful with that in the opening laps, and that might have been something to cause with the turn 1 melee as we see one of our runners come through there. That is, I can't quite see the number on that. That's Reggie Robertson in the Freedom car. Yes, that I think that might have been the reason, because it was an incredibly short pace lap, basically sunset curve, and then that was it, straight onto the gas, and those tyres would have been stone cold and low on pressure, and I think that might have had something to do with the melting pot that was that turn 1 incident.
That spread apart a lot of our battles up at the top of the GTEs. Let's check in on the GT4s. Waring still leads Fellows. Morley has slipped back to third since we weren't looking. And then you've got Broomhead completing the top 4 that are still in a train.
Yeah, and the most notable thing up front in the GT4s is that Thomas Cope has dropped back several positions. He started in 5th place, he's in 7th now, but he was one of the drivers who went off in the first corner. I don't think he got any damage, he just got a bit of dirt on his tyres that probably annoyed him for a few corners. But here he goes, he's working his way back up through the field. Thomas Cope, though, is good at working his way back up through the field because he had a spin at the season open at Daytona, but still finished 2nd.
Don't need to go to it, but Jose Balbiani is at the back of the GTE field after a self-spin of his own as we ride on board now with Broomhead, who is getting very close to the back of Morley, and Morley getting close to the back of Fellows as they all lose touch with Waring, and they come onto the Ullman straight. And who is that we saw off? Sorry, we were on Cope there, and that was McKevitt that we just saw.
And that's very unfortunate for McKevitt. That's his second spin in 2 races. Oh, but this time he got helped by a little bit of netcode from Thomas Cope from behind.
I think you're being very generous there, I would say, Sam. I would say that was more of a punt than a netcode, to be honest. It looked like he just got in there hot and clipped the Flying Lizard car. And yeah, just a little bit deep on the brakes from what I could see.
As we come back live, wonder if we could take the cameras back to P2 and the GT4s. Morley under threat. Broomhead has managed to get by Fellows. Actually, both of them have managed to get by Fellows.
Yeah, I think what we saw there, Joe, last lap was Fellows was in 2nd place. Morley and Broomhead saw that Warren was escaping ahead of them, wanted to find their ways by Fellows, and they've done that. And now those two, Morley and Broomhead, well, they've got a choice here. Are they going to battle for 2nd between themselves, or are they going to try and work together and run down that 336 car? Because I got to be honest, I think that's not a bad idea, because right now Warren is running away with it.
Yeah, he's loving that little scrap that they're having. It's about 1.8 seconds between himself and Morley. And they're finally single file here as they break into Cunningham, so they could yet try and regroup and get up to him. In the meantime, let's let that happen. Let's head over to P4 and the GTEs. Alguero and Pipers, who we saw earlier in this race, are still going at it.
Yeah, Alguero is a newcomer to the series this time out at Sebring. That's him in the red and black car with the yellow and red wing and yellow wheels. So very, very impressive from him battling away for P4 there with Pipers as well. Now, but at the very front, Caden Bean isn't having it all his own way. He's not breaking away so much yet from Simonic. I think we might be in for a good battle there up the front as well. But now, as the tyres are starting to build a little bit of pressure, build a little bit of heat, you see there the time's already below the 1:57 marker. So the straight up to pace already from Alex Simonic.
Behind them, I was watching Romagnolo. He recently got by Bradbury back up into 7th, but they're still side by side as it up the inside. Very hard braking for Bradbury. He's going to get on the spot, and Barrera is going to take advantage as they they do bang doors, and Barrera gets the worst of it through Collier where there's no runoff. He is into the wall.
Yeah, that's the thing here at Sebring. There's only a few kind of obvious passing places, and sometimes it can get a bit rough and tumble there. Yeah, as you see them coming through Collier towards Tower Turn, and that's a huge hit into the wall, and that's right in front of the real hotspot for partying here at Sebring.
Well, that will separate that battle as Bradbury, Romagnolo, and Romagnolo, who are the two left, are split apart a little bit. They are still within about 0.3 of a second. Nothing's going to happen here into Sunset Bend for the time being. Del Campo who is ahead of him. Oh, and there's a car off track. That's Wayne Rayner. So that's one of our GT4s. Not sure what happened to him, but he seems to be stuck there to the inside. He's thankfully off the racing line. Oh, down to the inside goes the car of Bradbury on Del Campo. It doesn't quite stick, but he's looking aggressive, and he's going to go for it again. He's going to run out of room as down to the apex. Del Campo tries to chop him off, and now he finds himself in the tires.
So let's get another look at this. As you see, they come round turn 1, heading down towards turn 2, 3, 4. Hard on the brakes here. You're coming down to third gear, and oof, yeah, that's... yeah, no manners there.
I was just going to say, Bradbury pulled an aggressive move, although I'd say a cleaner one on Roman Yolo earlier that lap. But driver that certainly fancies himself as a late breaker as we come back live. Looking at some of our GT4s now.
Yeah, well, there's been a change for third place here. Sam Fellows has worked his way by Michael Broomhead. And on the previous lap, this lap's lap times are just clocking in now, but on the previous lap, Michael Morley had reeled in Andrew Warren by a couple of tenths. This lap, I think Morley's lap time was a little bit off because he overshot the hairpin.
Behind them, we got side-by-side action between the 17 car and the 64. Could be an over-under here through turn 1. That's Cope that we are on board with right now. He's got a good shot, and he's got the inside down to turn 3. Breaks deep into it. He could clean this up, and yes, indeed, Ogren is going to see Cope claim P5 away from him.
Good move there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of redemption for his opening couple of laps where he had an off and he had contact with another car. Now Cope's got his car under him and is making some good clean passes and working his way back up into the top 5.
Now, there's a wee note about these little 718 Caymans. They're a wonderful little car. Actually, Porsche have an incredible history here at Sebring, so it's very fitting that we have 2 different types of Porsche in the race today. But, of course, Porsche's first ever win here at Sebring was in 1960 with the original Porsche 718.
I did not know that. We're riding on board with Caden Bean now, not in the 718. He's the leader of the GTE cars. He has hit the traffic. He just got through a huge chunk of it before we came here. Actually, I think we cut over just as he was finishing it up. He's going past McKevitt, and he's got a little bit of a break. Things have spread apart here in this section, but let's see how he handles dealing with a slower class.
Yeah, this is when it's going to get really, really interesting for the GTE runners. It's amazing that they're all, after just 12 minutes, they're already on the case of the back end of the GT4 field. And of course, the back end of the GT4 field are obviously the less experienced and the slightly slower cars. And Sebring, it's bumpy. You don't want to go offline. Of course, we're coming into the dark, so lots of things for the driver to contend with. But what we saw from Caden Bean there was exactly what we saw at Daytona as well. Really, really decisive through traffic. Now, remember, Caden is only 15 years old, the young man from Poughkeepsie. Well, maybe it's the exuberance of youth that's allowing him to cut through that traffic with such brutal aggression.
Certainly isn't hurting him right now. Behind him, as we continue to see him move through, we've still got a little bit of a battle between Pipers and El Guero. They're coming off of Sunset Bend. And El Guero got a good shot at first, but as soon as he's not got enough of a straightaway here, they're coming up to McKevitt as well. McKevitt going to dutifully stay out of the way through turn 1. Very different lines between these 2 GTE cars, but it works out about even between them. Oh, good on the brakes, though, from the 21.
Yeah, very, very impressive there. That is a corner where you can really go very, very late on the brakes and really dare, as always one of the Caymans goes off on the right-hand side there as they go around Gurney Bend. There's Dan Gurney, one of the honour roll of winners here, as we head down to turn 7. On the brakes, he's going to bump him. Oh my goodness me. That was our newcomer there of Mark Alguero, getting very cosy there with Pipers.
Good job of not only not hitting that car ahead, but he held onto his own car as he touched the grass in avoidance. I'm amazed he's still only half a second back here, and they're still dealing with traffic. So Mark might be one to watch out for with the skill that he's showing here early on. They are trying to run away from cars behind them as well. Roman Yolo on the charge, back forward from his early mistakes. He's only a second and a half back and gaining. Oh, and who is that way off track there?
That is Piper's, yeah, trying to use the track and then some to get around this track.
It's worked well because he's putting some distance between himself and Alguero. It is up to 1.3 seconds, so some dangerous but savvy moves there.
Big move there from Nico Varone, going past Giuliano Romagnolo like he was standing still. And you've got to imagine that the 19-year-old Argentinian Varone, our second place finisher from last week at Daytona, you've got to think that he's furious about getting caught up in that silly incident in turn one, but he's really on the move. He's now up to 6th position in that red, white and blue car.
It's amazing seeing them slice through these GT4 machines, and they are coming thick and fast at this point. Mark Alguero still leading the group of them, but I think Varone has got incredible pace here because he's already gotten up to about 3/10 behind Alguero. They come up to Big Bend. They've got Pipers in front of them, so there's no traffic for a little bit here. Still not a good enough exit for the 25. Doesn't seem like he's going to have a chance down into the hairpin.
And we can't see it now. Yeah, we can't see it now from this onboard, but probably a simmer. There we go. You see the problem there? Everyone's got white headlights. That's going to be a bit of a nuisance for the GT4 car.
Yeah, hard to tell
who's
coming up on you.
They need the Corvette Pratt & Miller radar where there's a little screen on the dashboard that tells them when faster cars are approaching them. Very, very sophisticated piece of kit that they have. I think they have it in the RSR in real life as well.
Yeah, that is an advancement I'm sure real-world drivers absolutely love. So we continue to watch this number 21. Varone right up underneath him, though, breaking it for Jean Debienne, and a bobble, unfortunately, from Alguero. So he's starting to feel the pressure. Cracks are showing.
Yeah, Varone showing some really good aggressive pace here. He was just spectacular and just missed out by a wheel length at Daytona last weekend. And last week, I should say, sorry. But he's cutting through the field very, very well. And I have to say, watching a young, hard-charging driver making his way through the field like this is just so exciting. I love it.
Down to complete yet another lap here. They've got 23 minutes left to go, so we're just about at halfway. Next time around, we'll mark it. A look to the inside from Varone. Not a serious one, though. Just shows his nose on Alguero, making him think. Alguero is thinking because he goes defensive at first. Shallow entry down into turn 3, but he's able to fend him off.
I think that was Andrew Waring, the GT4 leader that they've just gone past, just coming into turn 1 there in that kind of teal and grey Sim Sport car. So I think that should make the traffic a little bit easier for a few laps, but I'm sure it won't last long.
Another defensive move down to the hairpin from Alguero. Varone definitely showing his nose once again, weaving back and forth, but it doesn't produce anything. As they keep fighting, let's not forget that car that you see behind them, that's Romagnolo giving watch. I'm sure he's eager and licking his chops, hoping that the door will open and he could snatch a place.
Looking on the side of that, of Varone's car, you'll see the logo iZone. iZone is a company based in the United Kingdom where Nico goes to do a lot of his training while he's racing here. And it's actually, I believe, that Andy Prio runs that company. And a friend of mine, Rory Butcher, a British touring car driver, is involved with it as well. And clearly his coaching's working because makes up, oh my goodness me, that miss Nico Varone makes it. I don't know if there was enough space for a 911 RSR, but he made space.
Wow, and things are still hot behind him. We're going to look at the replay. I'm keeping an eye on what's happening in real time. But yeah, he sent it into Jean Debienne. That's a hard place to make a pass and had a little touch. We got to come back live because Alguero is now fighting with Romagnolo. They're going to go side by side down through Sunset Bend. And they're going to come off of it with a drag race up to the first corner. Romagnolo's going to have the outside, Peter. I don't know if this is going to work out for him.
This is making me nervous, I'll be honest. Coming into turn one, it's just it's a blind entry, and you try and get as close to the wall, and they definitely touched there. And look at that, that's amazing. They're looking at the flashing the lights there from Romagnolo there, so that they definitely touched. I think there's just a tiny bit of damage on the front of that car, and maybe a little bit of damage to the diffuser of Alguero's car, but who says that these GTE cars can't race? This is fantastic.
Great stuff. Wow, big dive to the inside as Romagnolo's going to try for it again into the hairpin. He makes a clean move, and Giuliano's up to P6 past Alguero. This has slowed them so much. That is Davidson. That's for position in the number 27 car, looking for 7th.
We've had another car join the casualty department in pit road. That's Reggie Robertson. He had contact with Thomas Cope, who had been doing so well, the GT4 driver who had been doing so well, trying to work his way back up through the field. Thomas Cope lost several positions. He had to spin, but as I mentioned, Robertson had to go to the pits.
And sorry we haven't come to you a whole lot here, Sam, but things have been so exciting in GTE. Sounds like we got a little bit of a battle down there.
Yeah, well, the leaders kind of got spread out a little bit with all the faster traffic coming through. But as you mentioned, we have a couple of battles still here, including Ogren has been involved in a little bit. But I've been keeping an eye on the two leaders, Andrew Warren and Michael Morley. And the reason why is because I believe Morley is faster. Well, if Morley's faster, why isn't he leading, you may ask? It's because he's overshooting the hairpin. Every time he has a good lap and he gets close to Warren, he completely blows the hairpin, and it costs him about half a second. So if he can get that figured out, I have a feeling we could see a battle for the win in GT4 by the end.
Taking a glance over at Morley as he continues his chase. Going down into Sunset Bend. The gap is about 1.2 seconds here to Andrew Warren. Andrew, a familiar face already on this channel as he races in the majors and has shown up really hitting the ground running, you could say.
Yeah, he had a really good run in the Canadian iRacing Challenge with a number of the professional Canadian real-world drivers that was arranged during the lockdown period, and he had a very good performance, particularly at Mid-Ohio. It's interesting the point, Sam, you make there about the hairpin, of course, because Sebring in general, you're always busy, but it's a pretty quick track. But then, of course, when you come down into the hairpin, it's so slow. And back in 1957, Stirling Moss actually stopped on track there mid-race to have a Coca-Cola, and which he'd been given by a photographer.
And then let's see how Morley... Oh, sorry, we've had some other incident here. What's going on, Joe?
We've got a pass for third. Piper's got by Cantu, and I believe this was actually down into the hairpin, I want to say, or close to that. Let's take a look. We've got the replay spooled up. No, looks like it was at Cunningham. Just gunned it off the hairpin well enough, got it to the inside. Coming up to some traffic. He wanted to get it done before they had to deal with that. Nice and smooth.
Great use of the traffic there. Very well. He saw the lap traffic and really placed it well, Sam.
Yeah, and good battle in the points going on in GT4. Not for a lot of points, but it's between Andre Adams and Phil Schrader for 9th and 10th. They're all over each other, but these are points-paying positions. So that they have, this is battle is as good as any, trying to get some extra championship points in this very short championship season.
Schrader, who we ride on board with, somehow gets a really good run off of Tower despite being incredibly shallow compared to Adams. We're going to head through Bishop. Let's see, do they have traffic coming? No, that is GT4s behind them. A little bit of a slide there from Schrader coming into Jean Dembien. Not when he wants that, especially Sam with the Ullman straight here, providing decent slipstream.
Yeah, and you mentioned traffic. Obviously, the lead traffic caught these GT4 cars about 10 to 15 minutes into the race, so it's going to happen again. In fact, it might happen relatively soon, and we'll see if any more of these battles get shaken up when it happens. But right now, the top 10 in GT4 is Warren, Morley, Fellows, Brimhead, Stone, Ogren, Cope, Sheriff, Adams, and Schrader. Although, granted, that was last time at the line, and it seems to be changing quite often.
These two complete yet another lap and send it down into turn one. Schrader seems to have fallen off slightly from Adams. So we're going to head back to our leader. Haven't shown him a whole lot on screen, but Caden Bean in the number 23 has extended his gap to about 2.1 seconds over Simonic. Alex just holding station now.
Simonic in the 250, that's 2 laps in a row. He's done a 1 minute 56.5, which is incredibly quick considering they have traffic to deal with. But Simonic this is not the place you want to catch cars between turns 3, 4, and 5. And Caden Bean will have made a little bit of an escape there, but the gap is coming down. It's now only 1.3 seconds. That's the closest it's been for quite a while. So Simonic really has the bit between his teeth, and Caden Bean might be starting to look in his mirror and thinking, oh dearie me, I've got someone here to challenge me. But we did see at Daytona that he is fantastic at defending his position.
Certainly was. And I think you're right, because it's gone down very quickly through that traffic to 1 second flat to the number 23. Simonic is hustling, and he seems to be quite good through the traffic. So as they break into Tower, let's see if they've got any more coming up. They do have Rich Price ahead of them. That's a lone car, so that should be a little easier to deal with. Then they've got McKevitt and Adams, and that is a battle for position in front of them. That is when it will get tricky.
Yes, it will. It's the traffic absolutely vital, and of course now we're coming into the darkness. Now at Daytona, we raced the whole 40 minutes in darkness, but of course at Daytona the lighting system there is so bright that it doesn't make such of a difference. But Sebring, when you get out to the back end of the circuit around the Fangio chicane and Cunningham corner, my goodness me, it's a lot tougher to pick your spots, and having done the practice time and getting the muscle memory is very important for driving in the darkness hours, as Caden Bean makes his way through traffic pretty well there. So I think we're going to see the gap seesaw back and forth between Simonic and Bean, but looks like Simonic has got the ultimate pace right now.
Yeah, but that battle that these leaders are going by between Adams and McKevitt, this is actually pretty big, because this is for 10th, the final point in the class, and McKevitt trying to work his way back up after being spun earlier and got into the side of Adams there.
A little bit of smoke coming up as the drivers clip one another, and Adams, though, he's wide off the corner. He's going to get run into the back of, as McKevitt can't slow up in time, and they're both going to be caught by Rich Price. Can Price be the one to capture that last point? Down into the hairpin, a little bit of a defensive move from Adams. McKevitt tries to outbrake him, but he's not brave enough on the binders, so they're going to stay in position. Adams in P10, McKevitt 11th, and Price in 12th.
Interesting to go a couple of cars back there, because I think there was one of the GT4 cars came straight onto the middle of the track while there was 2 faster cars coming up behind it. They may have evaded it in time before getting to turn 7, but possibly not. I'd need to have a look back at that one, just a couple of cars back from this battle that we're watching right now. That's one of the things that's one of the last things you want if you're one of the faster cars and you see a car that's had a problem basically enter the track sideways. That's not what you want to see.
Ooh, and McKevitt gets it this time through Tower as they're approached by the battle for third and the GT4s. That's Piper's having to go the long way around, being chased by Cantu. They're going to leave them be after a swift interruption.
Yeah, but I'll give McKevitt a shout out for that one. He made that pass work around the outside. Good on him.
He was on a mission. And boy, they're getting a lot of traffic now. That's Verone coming by. He's gotten up to the top 5 on his climb forward through the field. That's him to the inside that you see now, weaving back down to the racing line.
Yeah, Verone, he's making moves, but this battle between Pipers and Cantu That's exactly what Verone wants to see. The more that Pipers and Cantu can fight with one another, the better a chance. You never know, Verone could pinch a podium here.
He's their biggest fan of seeing that fight erupt even more. Breaking down into turn 3. Oh, they're going to catch traffic at a horrible spot. This is Sheriff in front of them. Pipers, who tries to look the inside, finds it cut off a little bit. Now he's going to be able to weave around, but he is giving a handy little slipstream to Cantu. He covers the inside, stays almost all the way down, leaves just a lane. Cantu's not willing to take it. He goes for the outside. They break for the hairpin. Maybe the over-under, but he outbreaks himself as Cantu leaves a puff of smoke.
Just a quick mention about the leaders as well. It's now, Simonic's now got it down to just half a second, so Caden Bean has real problems coming from behind. As you see our promoter Racing Edge coming up on the screen, I have to say I was looking at their website earlier and they have some seriously cool race cars for sale. They have a Cadillac DPI, they have a Lotus Elise GT1, and even a McLaren Can-Am car. If that is whatever your flavour of race car, they've got it.
Well, the Porsche RSR on screen of Cantu tried around the outside of Cunningham, but apparently not as good as McKevitt at that move. Piper stays in P3. So where is Verone now? He's 2 flat behind them.
He's just at the back of the shot there. You can just see him.
Sorry, that was Cantu, and Piper's making contact. Verone now approaches. He actually has to get off the power. Not sure of what's happening in front of him.
There's Romagnolo on the right-hand side in the white and red car. On he's going to actually get ahead of Verone as well. So that out of that whole shimmy there, Romagnolo has been able to jump ahead of Verone, and Verone has been able to jump ahead of Pipers and Cantu. And now we've got a four-way battle. This is like a NASCAR race.
And we've got a battle for the lead. As Bean was lapping the GT4 leader Warren, the two actually made minor contact, and it's affected Bean a little bit. It's held him up, and he's got pressure from behind for the overall lead.
There we see them on screen, almost getting into the back of him. Simonic trying his darndest in these final 10 minutes to see if he can get by and claim victory here today. They now work their way down into Cunningham. Bean doesn't cover off the inside. Simonic takes a little bit of a look. That's got to be extra hard, Peter, knowing if that car is actually making a legitimate attempt.
Yeah, that's the thing, and also in the dark, you're just not. All you know is the headlights behind you. Now, for Simonic, this is huge because he is not in the top 10 in the championship, so this would give a huge boost to his championship hopes. For Caden Bean, he's a little bit less under pressure, but with Verone now up to 4th position, well, it's all happening. I have to say, the quality of racing we're seeing is just fantastic for these GTE drivers.
It may have settled out for the time being. Let's go back to Verone.
It hasn't settled for 3rd. Here you go, Joe.
Down into Jean Debienne. Verone tried it on Romagnolo, but he's going to fend him off. And man, look at all 4 of them as they swing around Le Mans. That's Cantu 3rd in line, and that is Pipers back and forth behind them. And it actually might be 5 soon because Davidson is getting dangerously close. Not sure if anybody got a good enough run up to Sunset. Romagnolo still defends to the inside, flashing their lights ahead to Sam Fellows, letting them know they got a string of cars coming through.
So this is going to come down to traffic.
Oh!
Yeah, what's the old saying? The blue flag means there's a race and you're not in it. I think that's quite appropriate for the GT4 leaders right now.
And Romagnolo made a mistake.
GT4 spread out, but here we go. They're fighting into the first corner.
Romagnolo made a mistake, and Verone took advantage of it as they go 3 wide off of turn 1. That is Cantu to the outside of Romagnolo. Giuliano tries to get this spot away now that they hit the twisty section from turn 3 to turn 5, and he's going to manage to get ahead. Cantu still trying his darndest, and Davidson is able to get past... no, he's not able to get past Pipers.
And that gives Verone a really good chance to just escape slightly. So if he can put in a couple of really good sectors here, as Davidson looks up the inside at turn 7 and makes it stick, great move. I have to say Romagnolo made an amazing move there into turn 3 and 4 as Andrew Waring there on the left-hand side. That's his GT4 leader. He's having a nice drive along to himself, and he just sees 4 furious 911 RSRs blast past him. That must be quite a sight from his seat.
And great job to him getting out of the way of everybody as well. Still, the fight for fourth is not over, even though we can see Verone starting to gap this group. Romagnolo and Cantu looking to settle that out, as well as Davidson and Pipers trying to decide P6. They come up to Bishop once again. This is where we joined the battle just a lap ago, and things have, almost every one of these 5 positions has changed since that lap.
Yep, it has, and I have to say, I don't know about you guys, but I just love Sebring. It's a completely unique layout. Only Sebring can you have racing like this. And of course, Sebring is really the home of North American sports car racing. And to be honest, one of the spiritual homes of worldwide sports car racing. It's just a pleasure to see these top drivers in this amazing car, which of course sadly is no longer in service anymore. They've moved to a twin turbo model. And of course, sadly, we're not going to see it in IMSA next year either. So it's brilliant to see it kept alive here on iRacing.
And one thing that we should mention is that Warren is still leading down in the GT4s. For those curious, Morley has not been able to catch him. There we give a little bit of love to Andrew.
Yeah, I think Warren is watching the broadcast in the background, and when I said that Morley was faster than him in the middle of the race, that upset and offended Warren, and he's trying to prove a point over me. But yeah, the top. For what excitement there is going for the positions in the GTE class. It's a bit the opposite of that in the GT4 class. But you never know in motorsports. Anything can happen, especially in these multi-class races. We've got 5 minutes left to see how it will all unfold. But if it stays as is and Warren wins this race, it will be a very deserved victory.
Back to Romagnolo. He was still close behind Verone for a little bit there, and now he drops back once again. Cantu still pressurizing him, as Davidson is well ahead of Pipers now. So it looks like the 19 must have had a mistake that we missed. It's now the closest battle is for fourth. Right on board with Romagnolo, looking back at Carlos Cantu.
The leaders are already round Sunset Bend as we head down the Ullman straight out of Le Mans curve as Cantu's in the draft here, and oh my goodness me, Romagnolo just throws a really tough block there. That is right on the very edge of what's acceptable, I'll be honest. Nearly squeezed him into the wall there as we come round Sunset Bend, one of the hardest bends anywhere in North America. But look at this, following Romagnolo, we're on board with Cantu. There's traffic on the right-hand side. Now, the ideal line here is to be as far over to the right as you can, but not when you've got another driver up the inside of you. Goodness me, as they're using every last bit on the exit as well. And Verone, he's probably looking in his mirror going, yeah, carry on, boys. That's just perfect for me.
I'm glad I'm up here and not down there right now, because it must be nerve-wracking inside these cars. Right on board with Carlos, looking ahead to Romagnolo down to the hairpin. Giuliano's pulled himself a tiny gap. He's got himself safe. And now he has to gun it off of the hairpin as well as possible. Look at how close to that rear bumper gets Carlos.
And as close as this is, Joe, you know what's even closer now is Alex Simonik on Caden Bean. He's pulling up alongside him. Bean has not got a good exit, and they're coming up into the braking zone here. So right-hander Simonik will have the inside. Simonik has the lead. But we're into the dire moments of this race. We're about to come out to the back straight that leads towards Sunset, and Bean knows he needs to challenge now. He can't let Simonik escape because there is not a lot of time left in this race. But there's a new leader. It's the driver 250, Simonik. They will cross the start-finish line with about 2.5 minutes left to go. So 2 more laps.
Caden with some wheel spin,
but contact. Simonik's in the back marker, and that's, he's got away with it somehow. If he's got away without damage there, he'll be very lucky, but how that didn't end up any worse, I don't know, but that's just given Bean a little bit of an opportunity, because I tell you what, Simonik was away apart from that.
Bean's trying to get back into it. I was just about to mention that mistake he made off of Le Mans and claws it all right back. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
I was about to say the same, Joe, actually, until Simonik punted the back marker. Yeah, that corner in the Le Mans coming onto the Ullman Straight, Bean tried to snap back, and that just really compromised his exit. You're spot on.
So they got more traffic coming up, and hopefully Bailey's been listening to what's going on and knows to just hop out of the way, because these two are in a hurry. Simonic and the number 250 car approaches quickly. He's going to be able to get to the inside quite easily. And so does Bean. Bean making up a lot of time under braking, though, down into Cunningham, and he closes it into 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, this is far from done here. And again, as we said, it's all going to come down to how the traffic is managed. Now, it looks like if there is any damage on Simonic's car, it's not holding him back in terms of pace just yet, but how the traffic is handled for these two drivers, and also just sometimes the luck of where you come across lap traffic is going to be vitally important. But it should be here that Bean will get a much better exit through Le Mans, which it looks to me like he does. So he'll be able to use the draft of Simonic here.
And this is multiple different laps for the GT4 cars. McKevitt's going by Fernandez. Fernandez is just going to stay out of the way, but McKevitt, does he have any place to go? Yes, he does, to the outside, as they both sail it into Sunset Bend. And Bean now down to 0.2 of a second. He is strong on the brakes today, and that could serve him well as they get the white flag, 1 to go to settle race 2.
Of course, for coming around Sunset Bend there, it's so bumpy, one of the bumpiest parts on the whole circuit, and that's saying a lot for Sebring. And I think if you've just got to move offline, either for lap traffic or to let faster traffic through, then it can really throw you off and sometimes throw you into an incident. But this is a brilliant wheel-to-wheel battle. 2 weeks in a row, we've been spoiled, gentlemen.
They've got Schrader up ahead.
Next race is Watkins Glen, so we'll probably be spoiled again next week.
They've got some good track choices, that is for sure. As they come down into the corner, a little bit offline there for Bean as he has to try and get around Schrader. Will they catch Cope? Is Thomas going to play a factor in this battle for the lead? We're not missing anything down with Waring. He's still got 3.5 seconds. We'll cover him as he comes around for his checkered flag and potential victory here today. Down into Cunningham once again. Bean making sure to stay as close as he can, tucked up underneath, but hasn't seen an opportunity yet.
And look at Romagnolo. He's got past Verone, so he's up into that podium position. Now remember, the podium, the third place, gets $80. So this, what you're seeing on screen here, is an $80 battle. At the front, it's a $125 battle. And my goodness me, for a Scotsman like me, well, that is money you can't afford to lose.
I was going to say, that's a lot of pints, isn't it?
It really is.
As we come onto the Ullman Straight, Simonic has a bit of a clearing over Caden Bean, but they still have more traffic. This is Stephen Sheriff. He's going to stay to the outside. Simonic manages to get through, causes a shallow entry for Bean. He tries to send it in as deep as he can to see if he can send a Hail Mary, but Simonic's going to hold him off, and Alex is going to win race 2. What a battle here at Sebring. Waring, as the fireworks go off, is going to come around to finish his half a lap here at the end.
Yeah, Warren's looking like the winner.
Oh, sorry, we have to go to Verone and Romagnolo because they just made contact, and Verone is going to take third as Romagnolo falls all the way down to P5. Sorry, Sam, that just happened.
Yeah, no, I think that's more dramatic than what Warren's finish is going to be. What I'm more keen to see in GT4 is can Fellows catch Morley? He has been reeling him in a little bit. He's still 0.8 of a second back, not within striking range, I would say. But if Morley makes a mistake, Fellows will be there.
So both of our winners from round 1 have found themselves outpaced by other drivers. Simonic in the case of Caden Bean, and for Morley, it's Andrew Waring here.
Yeah, well, Morley's flashing his headlights. He wants Boschel to get out the way. That's a lapped GT4 car, and he does. So thank you to Charles Boschel for that. But Andrew Waring looks like he's about to get the win, but who will get second? It looks like it'll be Morley, but we've seen how much drama can happen in Sunset today.
And unless Morley makes a mistake through here, he should be pretty good. But up at the front of them, Waring in the 336 comes around the final corner of the night. 40 minutes of racing in these GT4 Caymans brings Andrew Waring to the checkered flag first with the win down in Florida. Looks like Morley's going to take second, and Fellows will get the last cash paying podium position. Let's take a look at Verone. I just glanced over to see how that was going as we were talking about him, so didn't totally get to see what happened. Now that was Simonic. Now was it with somebody else? Oh, it was Romagnolo. It was Romagnolo that we need to look at. Already very close here, coming through Le Mans, down the Ullman straight. He knows he's going to give him a slipstream. He's trying to get around the traffic. Doesn't cover him off, though, at least at first. There he weaves to the inside. Thought he was far enough inside. Finds a hole, and Verone just barely makes contact. Around goes Romagnolo. And someone else spinning. I think is that a GT4?
One of the GT4 there, proving that if you're just that little bit offline, you can just, to what you're used to, you can hit a bump that you didn't know was there. But I think Verone was just maybe a little bit overambitious there.
I agree, but hopefully we can get their thoughts on it post-race, which we're going to come to in a moment. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. We'll bring you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway. What an incredible finish. It seems that a few drivers are getting a little hot after that one. If you saw that finish, you'd probably understand why. We'll get their thoughts here in a moment, but Simonic certainly had a fight Caden Bean for that victory, and there was less than a second between them at the line, with Nicholas Verone taking third and possibly taking the cash. We'll see if the stewards change that outcome. Davidson was the one who finished behind him in fourth, and Gilhelm Pipers was P5, with Morad finishing in sixth. You've got Mark Alguero in seventh, Tay Kim, in eighth position, and then Giuliano Romagnolo, who was in third going into the final corner, got tipped by Verone, wound up coming home in ninth when all was said and done. Nick Del Campo was 10th, with Carlos Cantu in 11th. You've got James J.J. Ross in 12th, and 13th went to Jose Manuel Balbiani, Sam.
Warren puts out a warning to the field, and that warning is, I am very fast and I am here and I am gonna give you guys a run for the money in the championship, because he won today ahead of Michael Morley and Sam Fellows rounding up the podium. Broomhead comes home in 4th place ahead of Dylan Stone in 5th. Stephen Sheriff had a good race. He comes home 6th in class after starting in 11th place, and he'll finish ahead of Michael Ogren, 7th in class. Rounding out the top 10 and the points paying positions are Thomas Cope, Phil Schrader, and Colin Mekovic, who had to have another bit of a comeback today. Christopher Bailey outside the points in that lowly 11th place in class ahead of Andre Adams and Phil Beans. Jeremy Steinhausen saw his fair share of excitement out there, unfortunately, and unfortunately also the same can be said to a lot of the drivers who are on the timing sheets behind him, such as Nye, Price, and Rayner.
Like we've got our winner in the GTE class ready to talk to us as you see the last of the finishers up on your screen. And that would be Alex Simonik. Alex, congratulations on winning round number 2. You and Caden had quite a back and forth there throughout the race.
Yeah, I remember from Autobahn, the traffic giveth and traffic taketh. And when I got into my incident with Sydney, which I'm writing to him right now, an apology, but I didn't get a notification that I actually hit him or anything. So I thought it was just netcode. But then looking back at the replay, I did tap him. And then Jeremy as well near the end. I thought he was going to hold the inside so I can just go around him. And then my front started locking up. So I had to let off the brakes and that just put me right into the back. But other than that, it was a really fun race with Caden. He's super clean to race with, which is what I'm actually looking for in a series. But other than that, yeah, it was actually very fun.
What was it like dealing with that traffic out in the darkness as well? Did that complicate things at all for you?
A little bit. It's been a while since I've actually raced. I just got done with school on Friday. So it's been about, I think, a full school year since I've seriously dedicated driving. So I've had to relearn how to manage with traffic, and a couple of times, as you probably saw tonight, it did not work as well. There were a few times where in my head I was like, that GT4 should have really just held the inside rather than trying to make way for us going through. But yeah, very challenging race, very fun.
Well, you certainly have shown up with a splash. Do you intend to come back for more and grab some more cash?
Yes. I do plan to come back. I need to pay for groceries and pay some bills and stuff. So.
Hey, what a way to make some money and get some food on your table. That was Alex Simonik, our winner here today in the GTE class. Up next, we have our winner in the GT Force, Andrew Waring, as I believe, yes, Sam has caught up with him.
Yeah, we've got Andrew Warren here. First off, congratulations, Andrew. Win from pole and not without pressure from behind.
Yeah, thanks guys. It was a good event, good car, good track, difficult weather. Definitely that time change was different, but Michael and Sam kept me honest the whole race. For sure, I think they were able to get through traffic a lot better than me. And then at the end, Sam was really flying. His splits were really quick, and he was really catching Michael at the end there.
Okay, you say that, but at the start of a race, it seemed, your lead was only about 1 second, and by the end of a race, you won by, about, well, you had about a 4-second lead at some point. What helped to build that up for you? Did the car come to you in the long run, or was that just when you got a bit lucky with traffic?
I think the car is really quite a momentum car and quite a rhythm car. Once I settled in around lap 3 or 4, I was able to really find the rhythm and stuff. But every time those GTEs came around, it definitely broke the rhythm I had. And I felt Michael and Sam were really they were able to keep a better rhythm throughout the whole race, opposed to my kind of sporadic, really fast. Then I really slow when I got past and had to get back into that rhythm.
Well, you missed the season open at Daytona, but you done the best thing to try and get back in the points battle by winning today. Are you going to be here through the rest of the season? And do you plan to fight for the championship?
I'm definitely gonna give it my best. It was, it sucks for me that I missed Daytona, but it's really good for this series that there was so many participants. I really enjoyed driving the car. It's really well run series, and obviously really well broadcasted. You guys do a phenomenal job. So yeah, I'll be here every race, hopefully trying to catch up to those guys in front.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing what you can do. Thanks for coming to talk to us, Andrew. Congrats on your victory, and we'll see you at Watkins Glen.
Thanks for having me, guys.
That was our winner in the GT4 class, Andrew Warren. Meanwhile, Peter has caught up with the man who finished behind him but won in round one. That is Michael Morley.
Michael Morley, another podium finish in the GT4 class. Congratulations. It was certainly a hectic race. How was it from your seat, sir?
It was definitely hectic. It was a lot of fun, though. A lot of mistakes. And thanks for that.
We saw throughout the race that traffic was a big issue for both classes. How do you personally approach that with the faster cars coming through, particularly in these dark conditions?
Actually, I think I was on the luckier side this race, and they caught me in good times. I had my eyes on the mirror. I don't know, the headlights is pretty easy to see at nighttime. It's a daytime that's actually a little bit scarier.
Yes, I guess with the closing speeds. Now, all of the drivers are given a fixed setup that's the same for everybody. How did you find the setup on the Cayman that was provided compared to what you would normally go if it were an open setup?
Setup's great. Racing Edge does a great job providing awesome setups. I love kind of how loose it gets in the rear end. That might be a Porsche thing, but I love it. I took off traction control and I rid it.
Yeah, it's a lovely balanced car, the Cayman. I can imagine it's a lot of fun around the Sebring circuit. Now, next week is Watkins Glen. How are you feeling about heading over to the New York State for that track?
Love it. Can't wait. It's another one of my favorite tracks. My biggest worry is going to be Silverstone, and Catalunya. So we'll see.
These pesky European tracks. Well, I don't like those either. I prefer your tracks in North America, to be honest with you. Before we let you go, Michael, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, I give a shout out to Racing Edge. They put together a really great league, a lot of great drivers. It's a lot of fun. And shout out to you guys at GSRC. You guys always put together a great broadcast.
Thank you very much, Michael. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
And we usually talk to podium finishers, but we've got a ninth place finisher with us today. Giuliano Romagnolo joins us. And Giuliano, it seemed like things were a little bit heated after everybody hopped out of the cockpit. Even though you had an eventful race, let's go right to the end of it. Tell us your perspective of what happened with Nicholas.
What a crazy battle that was. Him and I were kind of coming through the field. We both got caught up in that turn one crazy incident there. So it was a charge from the beginning. Honestly, the entire time I was just thinking to myself, well, let's just try to get up there. Let's just try to push. I eventually found Verone, kind of stayed with him, raced him, cleaned. Gave him the opportunity to make passes on me. Let him by, and I never would have made that move into the last corner like he did, but it is what it is. Racing's racing. It happens, and in that split moment, race car drivers got to make that that split decision to send it in, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't, and unfortunately, it didn't. I'm hoping that it can at least be reviewed, because I'm pretty gutted by it. I thought I had a great race coming from ninth, getting in some trouble there, and making that last lap pass on Verone into T2 for third place. So it was definitely a lot of emotions coming out of the car, like you said.
Understandable. And speaking of coming up from ninth, how did you wind up back there in qualifying? Did you make a mistake or what happened?
You know what? The first lap, the front tires, I didn't heat them up enough on the pace lap there. So I actually went wide in turn one, and I had a one off. And in the second lap there, basically I just told myself, just put a banker in. You know, at this point, you don't want to push it and be 10 cars back further than what I actually qualified in a way. So I kind of made the best of what I had. And so I just wanted to make sure I put down a solid, decent lap, try not to lock up anywhere so I wouldn't lose any time. Wasn't going obviously as quick as I could, which obviously got me into some trouble in the race and affected what I could have done or accomplished. But it was great. I mean, you learn from that. You get better for the next qualifying session, and you just got to tell yourself to forget about it and move on, kind of thing. So it was unfortunate, but it was a fun race nonetheless.
Well, it was fun for us to watch. Commiserations that it didn't end up how you wanted, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you in better circumstances at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if all else fails, I think I might be getting the pass of the year, taking 3 cars on the back stretch and then coming from P6 to P3 before sunset. So that was pretty epic from my point of view. So other than that, thanks guys for everything again, for your great commentary, and as always, thanks to the stream.
That was Giuliano Romagnolo, ninth today, at least in good spirits, it seems, at this point. One last interview that we've got is, Sam is talking to Sam.
Yes, Sam Fellows here, finishing third place today. First off, congrats, Sam, and I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. Does this kind of make up for what happened at Daytona?
Certainly feels good to walk away with some cash and something today. Yeah, I think I had nightmares all last week about that. It was a bit of a screw up, and I'm not really good with the quick math, so I'm better at just driving the car. And I just, if I had 2 or 3 more leaders in Daytona, I think I would have had that one. But today was a fun race. It was kind of interesting on the first lap. I just first couple laps made a mistake and had a corner cut, so I had to let the other guys by. But from there, it was just making my way back, and it was actually a fun race. Got to just kind of charge my way back up.
Yeah, you were charging all the way until the final lap. It looked like, where you'd have a little bit more time, you could have took the fight for second place on Morley. How much more time did you need? 1 or 2 more laps?
Yeah, I think 1 or 2 probably would have done it. Right in the middle of the race, I think it was like 1.5 to Morley after I'd gotten back past Broomhead, and I was just, we got caught out by the GTE cars. And so I was just thinking, manage the gap, keep it under, 3.5 seconds and manage the rears. And I think we probably had a little bit more rear tire at the end. That was probably what happened. Because me and Michael are pretty equal, it seems like, for the most part. So, I think a couple more laps and we would have had at least been able to try and make a pass. I wasn't really in any opportunity on that last lap to dive or make a clean pass anyway. So.
Yeah, well, it looks like yourself and Morley, Warren, and a couple other drivers out there are going to give us a whale of a championship battle this season. So we wish you the best of luck in that, and the best luck for next week at Watkins Glen.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks very much.
And that was Sam Fellows, our third place finish at Sebring today, Joe.
Indeed, and that's going to close out our interviews as well. So we're going to give a few thank yous, starting off with our promoter, Racing Edge. Again, if you want to check them out, you can find them at racingedge.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Sam, Peter, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media, where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_brand. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store. It's at gsrc.storenvy.com. We've got a link in the description below. And while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll know if you haven't because the button will be large and red. That way you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race is going to be at Watkins Glen. That'll be Tuesday, June 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, if you want to see the next race immediately after this one, in just less than an hour, we're going to have the PRL GTE Sports Car Series taking place at Interlagos. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.